Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk to you about how to dig up and make your own clay for hand building projects. Now, this is a project that requires digging, so if you don't have a place where you can go out and dig up clay, that's okay. This is an optional activity for people who would like to create their own clay for hand building purposes. So, here is what you're going to need to do. For this activity, you will need a shovel. A big or small shovel would work. And you will need permission to dig a hole. So please make sure that you have permission before you start digging. You are going to want to dig until you hit dirt that looks and feels like clay. Now here in McMinnville, where we are, we have an abundance of clay. I only need to dig down a couple of inches before I hit good clay, but this will vary from place to place. You are going to come across two different types of dirt in your dig. You will find topsoil, which does not stay together and will just crumble in your hands as you squeeze it. And you will also find clay, which will hold together and squish in your hand, just like commercial clay we use in the studio. I'm going to gather some of the clay pieces that I dug up and put them into a container. Gather as much as you want. The more you gather, the more clay you will have to use, but the more work it will be. Try to break it up into smaller pieces because this clay will need to dry out. Take your clay chunks and lay them out on a tarp or a piece of cardboard so that it can begin to dry. If it is a sunny day, leave it in the sun and it will dry really fast, sometimes in just one day. It was raining when I started drying mine, so I had to bring it inside, and it took about a week to dry out. Once it is dry, it's time to break the clay up into tiny pieces. I found this rubber mallet, which worked well, but a hammer, a baseball bat, a brick, or anything hard would work. The clay is in smaller chunks right now, and I need to smash them up into the smallest pieces I can make. So lay out your clay on a hard surface that will be good for smashing and go for it. Try to get the pieces to be pea-sized or smaller. The smaller the better. The closer you can get to a powder consistency, the better it will be for making your clay. Now you can pick out all of the rocks, roots, and sticks that were mixed in with your clay. Once my clay is smashed and all of the rocks and sticks have been picked out, I want to collect the clay into a container so that I can add water to it. I want to add just a little bit of water at a time. It is really easy to add too much, and then you have to let your clay dry out, which can be hard to do if you don't have a plaster slab. So I add just enough so that my clay starts to ball up as I mix in the water, but it will crumble in my hand if I squeeze it. Now I can slowly add a little bit of water at a time until my clay reaches the right consistency. It should start to hold together when squeezed, and when you get there, you can begin to wedge your clay. I may still need to add a little bit of water while wedging, but just a little bit at a time. I'm going to wedge this clay really well until it has been mixed thoroughly with itself and has an even consistency throughout the clay. Don't forget, this is going to be a messy process, so prepare to get dirty. Once I finish wedging though, I will have a beautiful piece of clay that is ready to cut and use for all of my hand building needs. Treat this like any other clay you would use. Make sure to wrap it up in a plastic bag while you are not using it so that it does not dry out. If your clay does dry out, you can follow these steps again to turn it back into workable clay. If you happen to have a kiln available to you, be careful to do some test firings first with this clay before doing too much. You won't know what it fires to quite yet. Have fun digging, everyone. I can't wait to see what your homemade clay looks like. Mr. Willis signing off.